Hignet's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dack's corner and it goes, Glad towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good morning, Rovers fans, and welcome back to another live edition of On the Other Side with me, Ryan Hildred from Rovers Chat. Bit of an earlier start and a different day for us today, but there was a birthday in my household yesterday, so I couldn't stretch to On the Other Side yesterday, I'm afraid, folks. So you've got us this morning, and I can see that we've got some of our regular viewers in there, which is good. And Dizzy, this is probably a much better time for you over in Australia as well. So good to have you on this very strange Saturday morning slot. And last time out, well, what can we say? It was just a dreadful, dreadful performance away at Sheffield Wednesday as Rovers' disintegration of our season just continued. And I do dread to think where we would be had we not beaten Derby on that Friday night game. But with just 3 games to go, you know, it's Huddersfield Town up next. And they visit Ewood Park aiming to secure their promotion. And I'm delighted to be joined by Terriers fan Richard, otherwise known as 𝐂𝐍𝐲 from the Takes That Chance podcast. How are you doing, 𝐂𝐍𝐲?
Good morning, mate. I'm just so excited for this blockbusting game between two teams who are absolutely stinking the place out in 2021. It's there's 2 games to go, ladies and gentlemen, after this, and we're all counting the days off, aren't we? Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. And as we can see, you're in a car. I know you're squeezing in the show for us around your busy schedule. So do appreciate you joining us this morning, mate. And I messaged you about Chronic with with the birthday yesterday. So really appreciative you joining us. Absolutely. And Rovers fans joining us, of course, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Please turn on all notifications using that bell symbol. And please give this video a huge like and all of our other videos a big like across the platform. Super Chat is available as it always is. And we will just remind you, of course, that we are sponsored by Blue Rose Capital and we are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thank you to our very kind sponsors, as ever, Blue Rose Capital and 6yardsout.com. And I can see one of your fans has joined us, 𝐂𝐍𝐲. There we go, looking as good as ever, 𝐂𝐍𝐲.
Yeah, Gary's a Manchester City fan, mate, so he's had quite a week, hasn't he, with that Super League. I'm just disappointed Blackburn Huddersfield didn't get an invite because we've been that good. I can't believe we weren't even considered for that Super League, but still over here.
We're going to have no ESL chat on here, so we are going to talk about the beauty, which is 2 championship clubs in form, knocking on the door of promotion. We're absolutely going to love this, so let's get cracking. It's been a season of struggle really for Town. You've invariably found yourself down in that bottom half of the championship table, probably looking over your shoulder at relegation more than thinking about promotion. So what have fans made of your season so far?
Yeah, it's been a really struggle, Ryan. It's really weird because it obviously I didn't do this for you when we played at the end of 2020. And I've got to be honest, at that point, I think we were... obviously we don't want to remind you, but we did. We kind of burgled you, didn't we? We beat in the last minute, centre back scoring. But at that point, I would honestly, like you said, not kind of looking at the playoffs, but both teams were in kind of decent, spirits and looking for better days. And honestly, since that game, it's been an absolute disaster. Really, we've won 3 out of 21. We managed to beat Nottingham Forest last week, which were huge for us. Sounds like your Derby game. Really, without that, we'd be struggling. But I think both teams, probably us more than you, are so lucky that, there's 3 of probably the worst sides we've seen in the Championship for a long, long time that I know obviously Derby is flirting with it, but for me, I think it'll stay as it is. And we're lucky, really. There's 3 teams that are absolutely awful because, we'd be in trouble. It's been strange, mate, because I honestly had a lot of art leaving the year. We'd obviously beat you, and I didn't think we were ever going to chance for playoffs. I thought we might finish top of the bottom, 12th, 13th. But honestly, since then, it's been a disaster. We've had, to be fair, there's been a bad injury list to key players. The backup at Huddersfield's not good, and there's maybe, I don't know how it is kind of off the pitch for you, but there's a lot of discontent. The kind of the off the pitch, the chairman and the fan base, the club and its fans are out of love at the moment, and it's going to be fascinating to see how many renew. And the club's kind of sales pitch with the season cards, it was all about the emotional get back in, the kind of showing the glory days, glory moments of the last 20, 30 years. We have had some, believe it or not, but it's like they were tugging at heartstrings, because I think if you were trying to sell it on anything but history, you won't be able to sell it much this season. So, I'll be glad when it's done, to be honest, in a couple of weeks. I think it summed us all up, the last 2 games. We beat Nottingham Forest, thought they were on the beach pretty much, to be fair. But on Wednesday night, we were absolutely abysmal against Barnsley, who, 1-0 didn't do them justice. They should have won 2 or 3. And that sums us up, mate. We can win 1 game, and I think our players think that's it. We're there, but they're not good enough to back it up. I just don't feel any affiliation with a lot of this team, and it's a big summer for us, like probably it's for a lot of clubs. So long story short, the natives are restless, and a bit of a disappointing season really again.
And what you've just described there, actually, 𝐒𝐻𝐍, is quite similar to Rovers, actually, that growing discontent, the stuff off the pitch, which is getting more of a spotlight now. We had a plan to revolutionise, inverted commas, our training ground, and some were for and against that. So, alongside our on-the-pitch form, we've had the same as you off the pitch, just a discontent. And as you say, the club are relying on people paying for those season tickets. So, let's see. And that really leads me nicely and into my next question, really. So this is your 2nd season back in the Championship, and you've still got the benefit of those parachute payments, and you'll have that for a final season next season. So does it feel like you're well placed to go on a final push next season, or is it just going to be a case now of accepting that actually got to be sensible next season and maybe slowly build back towards that in a few years?
It's mostly the latter, and that's been the stuff peddled out from the club. I think what a lot of people don't realise with our parachute payments, because the name dropping here, I did a piece with the Athletic short a few weeks ago, but what people don't realise is our ex-owner, Dean Hoyle, is taking back £60 million of his money. So I don't think there's many clubs in recent times whose parachute payments has, kind of got to give £60 million back to the old owner, which has caused a bit of discontent, to be honest with you. To be fair to Dean, I think he's kind of spread the payments out because of COVID and what have you and that as well. But ultimately, and as well, it's not something that is a big U-turn, really. I think, that he was always going to get his money back, but I think that's hamstrung us big time, really, and that as well. And we're relying on out of contract players, journeymen like Richard Keogh, etc. So, I think all the noise coming out of the club is get the wage bill down. They want to be debt free in a couple of years, but the trouble is, the fact that it's not sexy talk for the fans, is it? We want to,
no.
But I think where the club's got it wrong for me is the club. There seems to be this kind of opinion that the club think the fans expect £5 million, £6 million signings, and we just don't. We don't expect them kind of signings. And the guy, the striker that went to Luton from Warsaw, is it Adebayo? His name, I forgot. We were supposedly got him, but we balked at the transfer fee, which might have been £1-2 million or something. And God, that about sums us up at the moment. We're just, it's all pretty grim, to be honest with you. It's all about bringing in players who hungry, long distance players. But you know what, mate? After the last few seasons we've had, not even the second season of the Championship, before the last season of the Premier League, just to have guys, I know it's an old cliche, but to have guys who care to, bust a gut for Huddersfield Town, we're finally rid of those people in the summer, because we've had so many people who've stayed with us because they've not been able to get a move, because no one will pay them the money that we did, because we absolutely blew it, mate, in that second season of the Premier League. Names I don't know, 𝐻𝐻𝐿 and Benzer's a guy who's stayed around till the death, been bitterly disappointing. Adama Diakabi kind of was paid up in January. Alex Pritchard, who was easily, for me, being our worst signing in my lifetime.
Wow.
For what we expected. I think we signed him for about 11 million from Norwich. Might even have been more, to be honest with you. And absolutely giving us nothing. He was a guy who, in the Premier League, he's got history in the Championship and doing really well. When he was on loan at Brentford and Norwich. Yeah, but he's been absolutely terrible, always injured. But yet he's sucked us dry for every penny. I mean, you can argue, well, hang on a minute, you give him a contract and then so he's entitled to stay all of the death. But it summed it up to me that he played in a B team game the other week and then amazingly got injured and that as well. He's hardly played anyway. But yeah, we need to get rid of these. But I think the trouble is, and me included, I don't think many of the fans has got the faith in the kind of hierarchy at the club to get it right with the incoming. So yeah, it sounds a bit grim, to be honest. I'm sure your tale's not much better, but it's
no.
Yeah, it's poor times really, mate. And honestly, it feels like success staying up, which is poor really from where we were.
Yeah, definitely, and we can certainly relate to that one. That certainly, success staying up compared to where we were. We started the season really well, and this should have been a season where we were knocking on the door of playoffs, and it's ultimately not that. And it feels like we're going to have to restart all over again next season. So, with what you were just saying there, then you've obviously been in the Premier League more recently than Rovers, and all that stuff that you were just saying about Hoyle taking the money back, etc., etc. Do you still expect promotion and want to be a Premier League club, or do you still view yourselves as that solid Championship level club?
Yeah, this is the gutting thing really, because as a fan, a bit like this week, obviously I know you said don't mention Super League, but I think half the arguments are you need that dream, you need that ambition, you need what is the point, what's the fire out of bed, what gets you out of bed as a Rovers fan, as a Huddersfield fan, and you want to dare to dream. But kind of what has happened with us, how the Premier League, and to be honest, when you see what Sheffield United have done this year as well, second season, a bit like us, stunk the place out, going down with an abysmal amount of points, foreign ownership, the great manager, a bit like us, Wilder, Wagner, they're gone. They've lost the soul a little bit and that as well. And we've lost our DNA. So, you know what? I've always felt that Huddersfield Town, they're a bottom half Championship team kind of by, I don't know if we were kind of putting them in a position or historically, but so you're always hoping, you don't want to be a bottom half, you want to kind of challenge. And I think it's going to be a long time since we get there. I think the worst thing is the club trotted out this, they had a meeting with a select group of fans about a month ago, and some of the stuff coming out in the minutes were like, we aim to be challenging the top half of the Championship in the next 3 to 5 years. And it's like, obviously David Wagner dared us to dream, and it was a bit of a one-off, I'll give you that. We're not, all of a sudden out of nowhere, a bit like Barnes, we've just come out of nowhere and we went up and what have you. But it's that kind of talk is like not going to sell season cards really. And it's all a bit disappointing. And I think, next season, if we were doing one of these at the start, hopefully we stop up that, I'd like ideally to challenge for the plus, but, give me a season where we're not looking over his shoulder. Because like you said, we had both Premier League seasons, obviously we were looking over his shoulder, and just last 2 seasons in the Championship. So we've had 4 seasons of struggle. He just takes it out. He's a fan, and it wear and tear. It's like, here we go again. And it's just, it's,
Yeah, I can relate to that. So let's talk about the manager then, Carlos Corberán. He was part of Marcelo Bielsa's backroom team at Leeds that ultimately went on to get promotion. He's just about to close out his first full season. What's the verdict on him? Is he the man to take you up, or be part of this team?
It's a huge kind of discussion point at the moment with the fans, because as you'd expect, when a club goes winning just 3 games, God, if I said this to you last week, we won 2 in 20, obviously, kind of 3 in 22 or whatever now. But, many managers have probably paid the price with that as well. Obviously, Mowbray's got, it's really weird. Your figures and ours are very similar to me.
I know, very similar.
You might have won 4 since the new year and that as well, but not much better. It's divided the club. I'm kind of a fan. Some people, it's really interesting with the podcast. We've kind of got 5 or 6 guys on it. Kind of 2 or 3 of them have lost the faith with him and that as well. I think in the first half of the season, obviously, Rovers fans remember we played some really nice football. I think our keeper had a good night that night, but there was an identity to us. A lot of people said, it's similar to Bielsa and that as well. And there was a little bit of a kind of similarity in that as well, kind of high pressing football. The key to Huddersfield Town, and hopefully today they're going to be both back of the fullbacks, but we're kind of the wing backs pushing forward in that as well. They were almost like wingers really and that as well. And at the start, a lot of clubs didn't know kind of how to deal with it, and no one seemed to have a proper position really in the team. It sounds really weird. People were popping up all over the place. I think the problem is kind of in the second half of the season, that's almost like come home to roost, really, because you've kind of got, a lot of people saying, well, where, like, for example, Dwayne Holmes, a guy we signed from Derby, must obviously be kind of playing at a fullback. The other night, we've had Lewis O'Brien, who's a midfielder, pushing forward kind of by right. He's been playing at left back because of injuries, and he's a very confused pitcher. He's not the most charismatic guy. He's Carlos Corberán, so he's not we've been blessed with kind of some characters over many years, someone like Peter Jackson, Neil Warnock, an obvious one in that as well. And when he speaks, you can kind of relate to him in that as well. But Carlos comes on, obviously, in the kind of, it's an honest guy and things, but it's not, I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to many of his post and pre-match interviews because they don't do anything for me. And well, he's one of those managers who says a lot without saying a lot, if you know what I mean, and that as well. Maybe that's just because it's lost in translation with Spanish. I think if you did it, we did a poll on our, only kind of a little bit of a straw poll on one of our podcasts 2-3 weeks ago. And when we were in the midst of our slump, and to be fair, I think like 68% of us are saying stick with Carlos. On the kind of the Carlos fan side, we've had a lot of injuries. We've had a lot of mercenaries still putting on a shirt for Huddersfield Town. And they'll be out in the summer, and he can finally bring his own men in, which we're all hoping that the powers that be at the club can get it right and get players he wants to play, his style of play, and that as well. But on the kind of the negative side, there's a lot of people saying, well, there's no, because you could see a DNA of Huddersfield Town in the first half of the season. The second half has been, what is our style? It's all confusing. He's playing players who, to me, who's never going to play for Huddersfield again. So why should they care? Don't know if you remember the Norwich game that we had. Don't know if you saw it. We lost 7-0.
Yeah.
We could have lost, honestly, at 5-0 down at half time. I were thinking 7 would be a good result. How bad's that? Thinking 7-0, you'd take that. But that's where we were. But he's playing players that, to me, will be nowhere near the shirt next season. So, what fans are like? I don't care, man. Give me some 17, 18-year-old from the academy or a B team that cares about, this bad year. Then the guys that you'll long gone, they've took the Premier League money, they've stayed to the better end of it, and every last penny out of us, they're giving us nothing back. So that's gone against him playing a lot of these kind of guys. And the young, obviously, he was a youth coach at Leeds United, and he has been in the past his career. So it's been a bit strange for us that there's not been that many of the young guys he's brought through. But obviously, an argument for that could be that Carlos, which kind of I back in a little bit more, is that he don't think they're good enough. So why should he play guys who are not good enough? But there's other guys, so why is he playing in Benzer and, people like, Janina Bakuna, another divisive figure at the club who really, we won 2 games in like 20, and he scored at Nottingham Forest last week. He was a great goal of his, and he's shushing people. It's like, man, why are they, that's kind of stuff. It's embarrassing, isn't it, though? Like, we've won a game against the team who are on the beach, and he's like shushing. And all right, it could have been at anyone, but to me, it were like, obviously, must have been getting a bit stick on social media. That's where you're at. You've got players there who win one game in like 10 and like giving it back to the fans. He's total rubbish, man. And so kind of gone off on tangent, but I suppose Carlos, I would like to see him get, start next season as that as well, and clean slate, new players, etc. But I would say the overall fan base wants him to stay, but you would get quite a few if you got some random fans on it say, no, we need to move on. But it's a complicated job with a still town manager at the moment because, where the money's not there. You're having to bring through kind of, guys from, non-league and stuff. And it's different. But the trouble is everyone's going to be compared to David Wagner. And how many of them are you going to get in your lifetime?
I know.
With, no chance. Same with kind of you. We are, top managers and that as well. People are going to compare kind of Mowbray to some of the guys. Obviously, you can't do it against Dalglish, but some of the other ones that you've had.
Like Mark Hughes.
Yeah, but the club's in a different state, as is yours. And it's a tough one, mate. Tough one for a youth coach, which effectively what it's been since he come to us.
Yeah, that's it. And do you know what? The more you've been talking, Dan's picked up on this as well. I swear you're talking about Rovers. Just some of that stuff you were saying about how in the second half of the season, what is the identity? What is the philosophy? Just to talk about the manager and the fan base. It is like you're talking about Rovers. So
it's weird. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Ryan. I've always been like a Tony Mowbray fan. Me when my friend were on loan, I don't know the name, but he were on loan for Watford when West Brom went up with, I think Mowbray got 100 goals, 100 points or something like that with that season. He's played some sensational football. I've always been a big fan of it. And the way he kind of plays his football and things. But it's, I just, like guys of that ilk, you just wondered, your big, it's cliche, Samji Mowbrays. I know Warnock's a anomaly because he's like just different. But maybe the time has gone for kind of guys like that as well. But you were doing all right. I always, when in the first half season, think, wow, Blackburn are doing well. I didn't kind of expect that, but it's people don't remember first half season. Same with us. It's like they just remember recent times and your record. I mean, God, you beat Derby, but we managed to lose to them. But the other week, but that says it all, doesn't it? That's the only game you've kind of won in any time, and that as well. It's grim, mate.
It does. Well, we'll come on to the style of play, and again, this is where Huddersfield and Mowbray and whatever will compare. But just to pick up on the point you said, Rovers fans, Huddersfield are bottom of the form table. Since New Year's Day, they've won just 3 games, 16 points in the 21 games since New Year's Day. Rovers not too much better. We've had 5 wins. We're on 21 points, so only 5 points better off than Huddersfield.
No,
so.
But Ryan, it's incredible. Like Fraser Campbell scored another goal like last month when we won a game against Swansea. He's doing that. He put his fingers in his ears.
Yeah,
he's doing that. I'm sorry, mate. When you shout them figures there, it's a disgrace. How can these guys be giving it back? Because they've had a bit of social media. Anyone with them stats and 4 seasons of garbage that Huddersfield Town produced, man, just read the room. Huddersfield Town just don't do it, and that's kind of stuff where the fans and the team they were so together when we got promoted. They're like, you'd do anything for that group of guys. These group of guys, they keep bombing out of the club. Hopefully we'll get that chance in the summer, but it's embarrassing really. There's no love there, mate, and that's what makes it, probably because we're not at the ground as well. That is definitely, but I think we've been saying it a lot. I think a lot of these players are so lucky, a bit like yours, that there's no one in the ground.
Yeah,
because they've been getting absolutely, I'm gonna forget them protests at Arsenal and Chelsea and what have you. Their problems are nothing compared to ours. I think it's like, God, they're going to get European football. Ooh, yeah, you know what I mean? But it's, it's part of me. I still wish we were back in, like you do, and that as well overall. But it's, they're lucky, really. Them gates are locked, man.
That's right. Well, I'm just going to move us on, as I say, just to get on to something where we do compare. So I've got a graphic. We do bring this up every week. This is Huddersfield's away form this season. We can see that possession and passing feature really highly in Huddersfield's game plan. And actually, this, as I say, this graphic is just for away form. But if we were to do it for overall in the Championship season, you are 3rd for passing accuracy in the Championship and 4th for possession in the Championship. So, what has the approach been from Corberan in these games this season, with that possession and passing accuracy?
Well, this is the big argument, really, and that was it's ironic on kind of Wednesday when we were getting beat by Barnes and there's 10 minutes to go, and we're that last 5-6 minutes and we're passing it across the back line. The problem is we get a lot of cheap possession. It's the way he wants to play, and then playing out of the back and that as well. But you've got to get it forward quickly for me, and we were doing that kind of earlier on in the season, but the second half, the season, let's be honest, like you've got like Nabisa, Richie Keogh, not kind of comfortable, I would say, on the ball and that as well. So I think it's the most overrated stat in the game, to be honest with you, possession and that as well. And I think I watched the Spanish game the other week. Barcelona lost, a couple of months ago, actually. I think Barcelona lost and the other team had 12% possession, or it might have been 18, but it didn't matter. Like when you're watching a game, sometimes I watched that game and it's like you're thinking, wow, they had 18% possession, but it never felt like that. So, think on that. It's like, for example, you could score today and then we could like you sit back and we'd have a lot of the ball and that as well. It's like, then we could like rack up that possession stat. It looked like, wow, fantastic. We've got 70 possession, but for me, it don't mean kind of anything. The worst thing about it's really weird with our away form, because this is the thing, with no fans in, why should it make so much of a difference whether you're away or at home? But it has for us. Our away record's been absolutely abysmal. We beat Queen's Park Rangers, I think, in February. Obviously beat Nottingham Forest. Or it might have been in March, last month. We beat Forest last Saturday. But apart from that, it's been absolutely awful. And I can't put my finger on it why, really, and that as well. Because, like you say, it's there's no fans, there's no difference, really, in that as well. But there's such a big contrast to our home and away form. Although our home form has tailed off a lot in 2021. Minimal. Obviously, there's only kind of been one win at home, which was a fluke win against Swansea. Came out absolutely nowhere. A lot of draws. So it's, the approach really is, because that would have one of the arguments I was kind of saying for Corberan, swashbuckling football, front foot, we don't care. If it's really weird, we haven't scored that many goals, but if you kind of had them on a reel now, a lot of them would be like goal of the season contenders. it's almost like we have to score the perfect goal. We've scored some absolute worldies, this season that could make a highlight reel. But this is the problem, I think. You get in a lot of these, we have to score worldies or, beautiful goals. You want to see them scruffy goals, don't you? That stuff in the 6-yard box. Obviously, we both had Jordan Rhodes, and the talk on the town is that he's already signed for us next season, coming back. Again, that's another thing. Does that a good, move for us? Part of me thinks is yesterday's news. Has he got the hunger, he's been there and done it, Huddersfield and that as well. That, to me, that just seems where we're at the moment on auto signing, if it is true, like everyone's saying. But that's what them kind of dirty goals, then that's what we lack, really. So we're a very pretty team. Although I would say in the second half of the season, Carlos is the team's gone a bit more direct at times as well. So even though we've not really got one of those, we've really struggled for kind of a target man. Fraser Campbell's kind of led the line most of the season. I think he's got about 6 goals. He's worked hard, but he ain't going to kind of, he's just a kind of a journeyman, really. He'll give you 100%. He's not going to, worry a defender, really. And that's all, in my opinion. Sanogo, another guy who used to be at Arsenal and he's kind of lost his way. We got him as out of contract. I think the most funniest one, I don't know if you know, we had a guy, Umar Niasse, so he's on our payroll. He played at Everton, a striker. And he came to us. He got injured in his first training session. I think he slipped and hurt his back. So you're going to have a guy here who's never going to probably kick a ball for us to town. That sums up the club at the moment. Unlucky with injuries, but horrendous signings that are making absolutely no sense. Danny Ward, another one who, again, an odd signing. He was always injured when we had him before. Cardiff, I think he's started 16 times. He hasn't scored a goal. This is meant to be a striker. We're trying to replace Karlan Grant, mate. He was our goal machine, really, for 2 seasons. There's been nobody. So it's, the style of play. It's on Wednesday, you're thinking, speed it up, guys. We're losing. We're 6 minutes to go, but no. Pass to the centre-back, to the keeper, to the full-back. That's great. And we're good at start season faster, though, man. And we can't do that. We're not, the play's too slow. It's almost like, Sky, when you're wanting to press that fast forward at times 2 or 5. You wanted to see that from us, but I'm afraid on the normal play, it's slow.
And I just want to stick with this because, our manager, Tony Mowbray, has been quite rigid to this possession-based game this season. And indeed, we're only second to Norwich overall for possession this season. Yeah. And he's also maintained that teams that get promoted out of the Championship invariably control possession of the football. And he is backed up a little bit by that, this season with Norwich, Bournemouth, Watford and Brentford. They're actually alongside Rovers and Huddersfield in the top 6 for teams with possession this season. But we obviously both find ourselves at the wrong end of the table, nowhere near promotion. And I just think, particularly since December for Rovers, teams have just worked out how to beat us by letting us have the ball. And I just think at times we've just been too rigid to that type of approach, not really changed the formation, not really changed the personnel. So for Huddersfield then, what's been going wrong for you with this possession game? And do you think it can be an effective way of playing for you?
I think it can. The biggest problem with us, we've lost our playmaker. So if you kind of think back of our kind of Premier League days, Aaron Moy obviously modelled his hairstyle on me. He was massive for us. He was just a talisman. Everything went through him. He was the man who was scoring, picking the pass. He was conducting the orchestra. Obviously, he disappeared, and we never have replaced him. So, Carol Lighting, a guy who'll probably be involved today, he's been a huge miss for us. So, he's a young guy on loan from Ajax. He's a playmaker. So, if you think of last season, we had Emil Smith-Rowe from January onwards. Obviously, absolutely. He was probably one of the reasons we stayed in division last season. Fantastic player. At the hub of anything that we did, difficult to manage. Obviously, look at him now, sensational, even knocking on the full England squad. So, who's our playmaker this season? Carol Lighting, and he's been injured for 3-4 months, coming back now. I mean, mate, he played for, I think it was 15 minutes on Wednesday against Barnsley. He was our best player. We've so lacked someone, because our midfield is just kind of engine room. You've got Jonathan Arg, who has been Huddersfield Town legend, but he's proper old school, blood, I'm going to say Thunder and Blunder, but that'd be harsh, that, wouldn't it? Blood and Thunder midfielder, getting stuck in. And we've got no one really to kind of thread any balls through. And it's everything this season pretty much has been our fullbacks, which we're hoping they're involved today. Harry Toffolo and a Spanish guy called Piper, who we signed from kind of Espanyol's B team. So, but it was almost like, because it was brilliant at the start, everything came through them. If you look at all our goals, Piper and Toffolo were the guys that kind of, the ammunition. But I think teams kind of worked us out really as well. And to ask fullbacks to do that for like 46 games of Champions season, obviously they've been injured as well. So I would say creativity has been a huge issue for Huddersfield Town and that as well. And today, if you've got like Pippa, Toffolo back and Carol Lighting, that's an Huddersfield Town that can hurt Blackburn, where since kind of, the New Year's come in, teams have, that's why the possession stats favour of us. Teams can sit in there and say, right, Huddersfield, show us what you've got. And we've got very little, really. But I know Josh Caroma's another guy who, again, huge for us. He got injured, I think, 8th of December, so he didn't play in the first game against you guys. But he's been absolutely massive. He's a threat. He's good on both flanks. He can shoot, score. Kind of a guy, it's really weird, a guy who were on loan at Rotherham last year, couldn't even get a game there. But he's a guy that we're just like, wow, thank God he's back, because anything Huddersfield Town did good in the first half of the season pretty much came through Josh Caroma. So you'll probably see a different Huddersfield Town team today. And if everyone's fit, I think that's the argument for Corbin. Everyone's fit and firing. You've probably got like a decent mid-table side there. But I think we've missed so many players' injuries, and the backup's pretty dire, to be honest with you, and that as well. So, yeah, it's hopefully we'll have them. Well, not for you, but hopefully we'll have pretty much, more bodies available as well. But it's, we've got some good players, but they always seem to be injured.
Yeah, well, you've just provided a really seamless link into our next graphic. We do this every week, 𝐂𝐍𝐶. So players that you've spoken about there, we can see Toffolo and Pippa, for example, with the assists there, 5 for Toffolo, 4 for Pippa. Josh Caroma, 6 goals and high up the ratings there as well. So you've actually answered my questions already that I was going to ask about Pippa, Toffolo and Caroma. You've covered that really nicely there, 𝐂𝐍𝐶. But I just want to ask you then about Fraser Campbell. So, he is an experienced performer at this level, but he is 33 years old and probably your best out-and-out striker, as you've said. So how's he done this season? And do you think you're going to be in the market for a longer-term replacement? You've mentioned Jordan Rhodes, but is that the signing you want to replace him?
Oh, man. Where do you start with all this? So, I'm not, anyone who's kind of watched our podcast will know that I'm not a big Fraser Campbell fan. In his plus points, his credit in the bank, he works hard. He's had to play miles more games than probably Carlos Corberán and anyone would have wanted to this season, purely because the other striker, Danny Ward, who's had barely kind of kicked a ball, and when he has been, done nothing for us. And anyone, I mean, you only got to look at them figures, aren't you? That when you see figures like that, your top goal scorer's got 7 goals. When you think like Karlan Grant last season, I think he got 18 goals. Yeah, kind of a few penalties, but never been replaced. If you don't replace your goals in a team, there's only one place you're heading, and that's, kind of down the league. Although, to be fair, we were in the same position last season. 𝐒𝐻𝐍𝐻 is another one, mate. Really, really weird. So another one from the Premier League who pretty much of a joke figure, to be honest with you. Absolute disaster. Never performed. Came for big money. But all of a sudden, really weird, we kind of got a tune out of him this season. He were bending in free kicks, looking dangerous. But since I would say about February time, he's reverted to the 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐍𝐻 of the Premier League, where, zero interest. His head's gone. His contract's up at the end of the year. They've got could do another year, but by all intents and purposes, it looks like he's played his last game for Huddersfield Town. And this is the problem. You've kind of got guys there who's, Janina Bakuna probably won't be with us next season. Again, a divisive figure with the fans, very kind of arrogant kind of guy, and that as well. I think it's just how he plays. Typical kind of Dutch player, plenty of swagger. But yeah, there's players there that I think if you're looking at all them who we want to be around next season, Caroma, yeah, definitely. Toffolo, I'm worried we'll lose him in the summer, Pippa, Toffolo, Caroma, Naby Sarr, who I like, but he's an incredible defender. I mean, obviously you saw him to our best circumstances, but to the worst with that worldie goal. But mate, his first job as a centre back, and this season, if you looked at some of the goals we're conceding, it's incredible. It's really stuff like he's got the ball and he'll stumble over it and pass it straight to opposition striker. There's been some absolute horrendous stuff, but then on Wednesday night, he's heading off the line and that as well after keepers beaten. He's so Jekyll and Hyde, and his goals sometimes cover up his poor defending. But he's certainly someone I want to see next season at Huddersfield Town. But yeah, you summed it up there, perfect, mate. Fraser Campbell, you're relying on him to lead your line, and he ain't going to get 20 goals a season. Simple as that. He'll work hard for you, but I mean, he misses some sitters as well. And yeah, like you said, we need a better striker. Sanogo, mate, unbelievable. Another guy. How many? I don't know if you've got any of these guys. We have strikers who are non-scoring strikers, I call them. They work hard, but they don't score goals. It's like, what's the point?
We've had one called Chris Brown, as Ollie's picked up here. We had him in the past.
Yeah. But they'll always be the manager's friend because look at the shift he puts in, this, that, and the other. But mate, give me someone who gets 15 to 20 goals, who a bit like Callum Grant, really, who played for himself, this, that, and the other. He used to get a bit of criticism, but give me someone who puts them numbers on the board, and he's pretty much a selfish striker than someone who works hard and kind of will get you 7 goals. Because 7 goals for your leading striker, mate, you're not going anywhere, are you, in the league? And that's why both teams like today are just where they are, bottom half of the league, struggling.
That's it. So if we move on then just to the starting 11, so Rovers fans, I wasn't able to get Kozzy's predicted 11 off him, so we've picked the side that started against Barnsley in that wing-back formation. I think there are going to be some changes in there. So Kozzy, just talk us through this side from front to back, or back to front, however you want to do it, and just let us know who may or may not play. This is the one that started the Barnsley game, as I say.
Yeah, so I think today in the press conference yesterday, Corberan said Toffolo and Pippa fit, and we'll play tomorrow. So for me, I think Rose should stay in, but I think it'll be Rowan Holmes who will kind of, pay the price for Wednesday's defeat, really, and that as well. I'd like to see Rowe involved in some capacity, but you'll have kind of Toffolo and Pippa pushing at your wing backs and that as well. I think pretty much it may stay as it is there, to be honest with you. Sanogo might be swapped with Ward, maybe Danny Ward might start, but he's not, much different. I think the good thing on there is Lewis O'Brien, who he's had to fill in at left back a lot of the games and that as well. He's going to be played hopefully in his best position there as kind of midfielder, coming forward with the ball and that as well. I mean, Dwayne Holmes has been awful for Huddersfield. They've not really, another signing who I just, didn't want to see back at the club. He's offered very little, and to be fair, he's been playing in so many different positions, which unlike the one that maybe he should play, kind of, centre mid, kind of pushing almost like as a false 9, but he's been all over the place. And it's I think we'll have a good side out today. You've got Carol Lighting and that as well. So for me, I would, from what you've got graphic on there, I'd swap Rowan Holmes with Pippa and Toffolo. I'd probably move Bakuna out for Carol Lighting. And probably the defence picks itself really, and that as well with it, back three and Jonathan Ogg. So pretty much, so there'll be a few changes for that really. I'd like to see 3 changes.
So there we go, Rovers fans. And before we move on to score prediction, Kozzy, I just want to ask you how you think Huddersfield will approach this game, because you're 3 points behind Rovers, and I think we are all but safe. You can never say never.
What's
but
your
we
goal
are
difference, mate? Our goal difference is normally like Iceland, like -40 or something.
But that's stupid, isn't it? It's all those early season goals. All the early season goals. But, we're all but safe. We are in dreadful form, 2 wins in 17 games. So is this a game where you think you're just going to say, right, let's get the job done. Let's not be relying on other people's results. Let's get over the line. What better place to do it than Ewood Park, where Rovers have struggled for home form and there are only 2 wins in 17?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like we were just kind of looking at that team there. If you do pick Pippa and Toffolo, and Carol Lighting, these are offensive players who are going to hurt you and, kind of push forward. Of reservations over our strike force and that as well. You might have Campbell back in for Snogo or something today, but definitely, mate. The trouble is, I think it's kind of gone now, that little bit, like where you need a good run at the end of the season to get their fans on board and the season cards flying out the window. I think Wednesday night was such a big step backwards, really. If we could have kind of done something there and maybe gone to your place and win and stuff, I don't think it doesn't erase what's been a miserable season. But again, it's even if we win today, Ryan, which I hope we do, there's still going to be them doubts that you're on the beach, I suppose you still say you've got some work to do.
You've been on the beach since January.
Yeah, maybe Blackpool Beach. I were on there the other day.
Yeah,
that's another story. But I think I'd like to see us go and just have a go, Ryan, and that as well. Because when some of our recent performances, I'm thinking, what are we actually doing here? Are we come to contend? We played for points. We're wasting time and stuff. When we've got a 0-0 and keepers messing about, going from one place to the other for take his goal kick. I was thinking, this is also sound like negative, and I were always Coburn fan because we were, attacking and stuff. So, no, I expect a bit different today because the key players are back, and that'll be the argument if you had the chairman on here and Carlos Coburn. If we do play well and kind of get the result, they'll be like, look what I've got. When I've got my full team, mate, we're good. But you know how it is. Very rare can you get your best 11 out and your backup's not good enough, mate.
That's it, and that's what's really disappointed Rovers fans this season, I think, because we've actually had a really good squad all season, and it felt like before the season started we had the strength in depth to cope with injuries and change things up and be much closer to the playoffs. We have had quality coming off the bench, and we have had quality returning from injuries, and it's just not played out like that, 𝐂𝐍𝐶. So that's been a disappointment for us.
Yeah.
And as I say, we're going to have to start again in the summer because we're going to lose people. People aren't going to sign contracts, etc. So we'll see what state we're in come the new season. So 𝐂𝐍𝐶, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you for your score prediction in a moment. But Dizzy knows exactly what he's doing because I'm going to ask Rovers fans to load their score predictions in to the comments box as well. And any Town fans, if you're there, let us know your score prediction as well. I know there's been a couple watching along. So, yeah, let us know how you think the game's going to go in the comments, and we will pick them up before the show's finished. So I'll do one as well. Don't worry, 𝐂𝐍𝐶. But you can go first. What's your prediction?
Yeah, don't be putting this on those video things, when you beat us 5-0 and stuff. But
I've said so many things on our streams. Don't worry. People could make a reel of daft stuff I've said.
Honestly, I've got so much wrong this season, it's embarrassing. But you know what? I think we're going to have a good day today, based on absolutely nothing. If you watch that game on Wednesday, you think, is this guy off his head? But Barnsley are good out there. Barnsley on the roll, they're a different animal. But I think we're going to win 3-1. And God, I can feel afterwards, people watching this just all laughing their heads off. But I've just got a nice little feeling about today. And yeah, all right, wheel this out in 24 hours when you've beaten or whatever. But yeah, it's based on the players that we've got coming back, mate. There's a little bit of substance to my ramblers here. But yeah, I think we're going to win 3-1. No way.
This game really intrigues me because you're a side that likes the ball and we're a side that likes the ball. And I think Norwich showed that when you don't have the ball, that's quite devastating for you. So I think there's going to be some weird dynamics going on in this game that if we break or you break or whatever, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to just be weirdly open. I can see loads of nil-nils in the comments.
You've sold it for the 0-0 now for an absolute small fest.
I know, but I don't know. There's just something about the fact that we both like having the ball, which maybe that is going to result in a 0-0. Maybe it's going to equal out like that. I don't know. I don't know. It's either going to be 0-0 or 4-3, isn't it? Like, I don't think there's going to be an in-between.
Delete this podcast.
I know, delete. I don't know. I just think we're really going to hamper each other in some strange kind of way. It's going to be bizarre. But I thought 1-1 before, and I'm going to stick to 1-1. 1-1.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that, to be honest, mate. This is how low my expectations are now, really. But, we might have enough points already. I think you have, definitely. But we probably have, really, on 40. I think we've got 48 now. But, yeah, it's not exactly one of those you'll ever remember this season. For a lot of reasons, obviously, not getting in the ground, Ryan. So I'm just hoping next season, because what we do, we always stop up at Todmorden en route, their cricket ground, amazing, Australia. We have to beg the coach to have a set because we want to stay kind of like there past 3 o'clock. But yeah, we normally get a lift from Todmorden to Blackburn, and then he would get in that end, and I think you'll serve some nice beer from memory down there and that as well. But we're normally at concourse about 3:15 because we've seen enough of the game, and I miss them days, man, and away days and stuff. Let's hope we can't wait back in next season. Come on, let's get back in, man.
I can't wait, and I think away days as well. It's just when the ball hits the back of the net and it takes that millisecond for the away fans to erupt and it's silence elsewhere. I just miss all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's as bad as both teams are, we give anything to be in that stadium this afternoon, won't we?
We will. Well, I hope the Rovers do play better than we did on Tuesday night, because I was severely annoyed with our performance at Sheffield Wednesday. I just thought...
You've got to be good special to lose at Hillsborough, mate. Jesus Christ. You must have
I just thought after beating Derby and getting over the line, we're not going down. I just thought we'd play with so much more freedom and zest, but we didn't. So, 1-1.
Don't you think, though, Ryan, sorry, just finishing like that, that sums up our club, same with us. It's like they win one game, and it's like the job's done, the foot's off the gas, and they can't back it up because they're not good enough. It's the same with us. We win at Forest. It's like, but we don't put it in against Barnsley. That shows what we've got on books, mate. Both teams, guys who not bothered, mate. And we need big summers and clear outs, mate. And sounds like maybe your manager might be kind of one of them that's going, but I think ours will be around for next season.
Certainly the manager, and he's come out in the press today and said some players have been told that they're staying and some players have been offered new contracts. And that means that for me, we're playing players that know they aren't going to be at Rovers next season. It just does not make sense to me.
Same with us, mate. So similar, a lot of the tales, but yeah, let's see how it pans out today, mate.
We will. Well, we will go through these score predictions. Dizzy has gone for a 1-1. Michael's gone 0-0. Eugene's gone 0-0. Mark's gone 1-0. Dan's gone 0-0. 𝒕𝒆𝒓𝒔 has gone 1-0. Yes, 𝒕𝒆𝒓𝒔.
Hey, confidence.
Alexander 2-1. Good on you, Alexander. Mark 2-0. Rovers win, please God. Ollie always does this. He puts us a nice little prediction in there. Out of all positivity at this point, 2-0 Huddersfield. Minster does not even have a shot on target.
Bloody hell, you are.
And then what does Dan say? Can't wait for Armstrong to smash shots into them back five. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Michael, that's a good suggestion. If we're similar enough, let's swap Corbyn and Mowbray around and see how we get on.
God. That possession's 9/10 of the law, man, isn't it? Unless you're not doing it with it like we are.
Well, I hope that it is a good game for us. 𝐂𝐍𝐲, I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Yeah. Have a good
awkward slot at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, and appreciate you squeezing the show into your car. So, no, thank you. And Rovers fans, thank you for joining us and interacting with us on this very different Saturday morning slot as well. We are going to be here with the watch along in, what's it going to be? Just under 4 hours' time, 2:30, we'll start the watch along for the Rovers Huddersfield game. Let's hope we have an absolute goal fest, because this Groundhog Day, it's just getting we are running completely on our own positivity to make those watch alongs really good, 𝒂𝐍𝐲. So I think the Rovers fans are bored of me, Luke, Joe, and Alex chatting absolute waffle just to keep everyone entertained.
Yeah,
so hope we have a goal.
It's been a long season for everyone, hasn't it? Yeah,
it really has.
Podcasts every week, like you, probably talking about the same issues.
That's it. But Rovers fans, join us at 2:30 for the watch along, and then Jonathan will be hosting the post-match show after that. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please turn on all notifications using that bell icon, and please give this video a like and all of our other videos a like across the platform. I'll say goodbye to the Rovers fans. I'll say goodbye to you, 𝒂𝐍𝐲, as I will leave us with Blue Rose Capital. Thank you for your very kind sponsorship. And we are also sponsored by 𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒔 See you all later on the watch along. Goodbye.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒓𝒔 They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.